Hello and welcome to the next tutorial on Angular series on this YouTube channel Jack of JavaScript. So in this tutorial we are going to see how the property binding takes place, right? So continuing from the last lecture, so we have let's say there are some of the properties, right? There are some of the HTML5 controls, right? One of them is your input placeholder, right? So let's try with that, right? And we'll see how the inbuilt properties can be accessed or can be modified dynamically using Angular, right? So this is how your input placeholder looks, right? It has a type as, let's say, text. Then it has a name. Let's say the first name is the name of this control, right? Also it has a label. Label is also first name, right? So when we compile it, right, on the web page we can see that first name, and then you can type anything in this, right? So this is how it looks, right? So this input placeholder has a built-in property which is disabled, right? So if you place it, so it looks disabled, right? So we can change this disabled property dynamically using Angular, right? So you can put the square braces around it, and if you make it false, so it will not be disabled anymore, right? So this is one of the type, right? We can hard code it. Now let's say how to change it dynamically, right? So for that we should have a input flag. Let's say we'll declare a flag, limit the variable as input, right? So by default it is true, and if we place input flag, right, by default it is true, so it is applied, so the field is disabled, right? So if you want to make it if you want to change it dynamically, right, on receiving the response from the API or on certain condition, right, so you can do that. So for time being we can have a set timeout function inside your constructor, and set timeout is after particular time period, that is 2000 milliseconds, right? So this function gets executed, right? So we'll change the flag. By default it is true, so we'll make it false after 2 seconds, right? What happened? This dot false. Okay, we have to make it as string. Value is false after 2 seconds. By default it is true, so it is disabled, and after that it should get enabled. We have to make uh, it should not be string, right? So that's why I removed the quotes, right? So now it will take as a boolean value. So by default it is true, means it is applied, so it is disabled, and after 2 seconds it gets enabled, right? So this is how we can change the value dynamically, right? So this is what one of the properties that is disabled. Now we can also print the value of that variable inside a paragraph, right? So input field, first it is true and then it is turned as false, right? Now this paragraph has an inner text property, right? So the use is if you define inner text inside a paragraph and if you assign the value as input, so, and if you remove the expression, right, still it shows you the value as true and false, right? Instead of this, if you assign the first name variable value to that paragraph, so it fetches the value. Right. So these are some of the inbuilt properties, right, which can be used in Angular. Right. There is one more thing. For There are some of the restrictions when to use property binding and when to use expressions, interpolation. Right. So interpolation is basically your expression tags, your double curly braces. Right. So if you want to assign double curly braces to your property, so it is not allowed, so it is restricted, right? It will give you some passing error, right? So this is strictly not allowed in Angular, right? If you want to assign some expression value to your inbuilt property or your custom property, right? So this is not allowed in Angular. So this is one of the restrictions for this property binding. So this is how the property binding works in Angular. Hope you understood it. We'll see what are the uses of property binding on the fly whenever it is required. All right. So thank you so much. Keep learning. This is Jack of JavaScript for you. Thank you.